Perspective, Angular Size and Resolution. By James Mann. Perspective is how our eyes work. Things appear to get smaller the further away they are, and the further they are away from our eyes the less detail we can resolve, and eventually they will become unresolvable. As the angular size decreases, so does the resolution. The further things get from our eyes, the harder it is to resolve details. Let's look at some examples. Where I live, we have a lot of riverfront trails that keep me walking. I see a lot of other people walking or biking, so let's use them as an example of perspective, angular size and resolution. This fence is only 200 feet long, and my camera is set to 24mm, for a wider viewing angle. Watch how this biker appears to get smaller the further he gets away from my camera. That's apparent angular size change over distance. Notice this biker appears to be getting smaller the further he moves away, and the guy on the left appears to be even smaller. That's called perspective, and it's how the human eye works. It's called angular size change over distance. Here is another biker. Watch as his angular size changes. And the same thing happens with the next biker. This happens with all things. As someone moves away from you, they will appear to shrink, and if they turn around, it would appear to them that you are the one shrinking. Again, this happens with everything. So if you are watching a ship going out to sea, it will appear to get smaller until it reaches the horizon or the vanishing point. Either way, it would become unresolvable. That was very noticeable change over a very short distance. Let's look at more distance. The Petitcodiac River is 512 feet across at this point. I can see about 1,200 feet of the bridge as well as the lights. This is apparent size change over distance, and it's called perspective. Now let's look at people that are about 3,000 feet away. Notice Kevin's apparent size, and note that he continues walking away from me as I stop to zoom back down the beach to that family. Sorry, that's about as far as I can zoom without using a tripod. In the few seconds it took me to zoom in on that family and bring the zoom back, Kevin's apparent size has already changed. He looks smaller. Let's look even further, to a fishing boat that is offshore. The only reason I was able to see the boat was because they had the spotlight turned on. And these fishing boats are even further away. Again, I only saw them because it was dark and they had their spotlights on. These 14 to 16 foot high fishing boats would not have been visible to the naked eye, without zoom. Okay, now let's move from the water to the sky.
Well, I've never seen one that close to me before.
Yeah, that looks like that's an Air Force One.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes my day.
There you go.
This plane is much higher than the last plane. I would never have been able to see the plane without that white condensation trail behind it.
Condensation trail. Stays short, disappears at the same rate the plane moves.
Now let's move on to something much further away. Let's look at our moon. Our moon is claimed by NASA to be 240,000 miles away from Earth. Let's focus on Tycho crater, that little circle at the bottom of the moon. It is claimed to be just 50 miles across. That's 13 smaller craters fitting across the diameter of Tycho crater, which again is 50 miles across. That means I can zoom in on the moon using my Nikon P1000 camera and see craters as small as 3.8 miles across, from 240,000 miles away. Now get this. Our Sun is claimed to be 93 million miles away from Earth, and it is supposed to be 109 Earths wide. I can zoom in on our Sun with a handheld camera and capture tiny sunspots. Let's see how many I can place across the Sun. First, let me use dots to represent sunspots. Then I will place 109 across the diameter of the Sun and then see if we can see sunspots that are smaller. We can actually see sunspots that are a fraction of the size of Earth, again with a handheld camera. Think about that, 93 million miles away, and I can zoom in and see sunspots less than half the size of an Earth-sized sunspot. That tiny sunspot is a quarter the size of the Earth-sized sunspot, meaning I could place 4 times as many across the diameter, more than 400 sunspots, and that's with a handheld camera. Those moons around Jupiter are supposed to be Earth-size, yet I can see them with my Nikon P1000 camera, from 444 million miles away. And Saturn is claimed to be 746 million miles away from Earth. Remember, I zoomed in on Tycho crater on our moon, which is claimed to be 240,000 miles from Earth, and I had to use the full 2000mm zoom to do that, yet I can still zoom in on Jupiter and see 4 Earth-size moons 444 million miles away. And I was able to zoom another 300 million miles further to Saturn 746 million miles away. Think about that, we have been lied to about where we live since we were children in government-funded public school. People have to stop believing their childhood public school programming, and start trying to prove any of the heliocentric model.